Good evening and welcome to the Rangers Rabble Dundee United preview pod. Tonight I'm joined by Wilf Marshall and Scott Kennedy. How's it going, guys?
Magic, thanks. You?
All good, mate, all good. Right, just a week and a quick 15-20 minutes, guys. Nothing too serious. Just going to have a wee chat about Dundee United in the previous game at Ibrox and then looking ahead to the game on Sunday with potential changes for the game on Thursday night. So first up, are we expecting Dundee United to be as aggressive as they were at Ibrox when they obviously were defeated 4-0? I'll come to you first, Wilf.
I expect them to be, because they'll think they've got a point to prove. And they obviously will fancy themselves because the game's at Tannadice. But I don't know, again, we don't know what sort of team they'll put out, because they've got their COVID issues. I noticed in their game last week, they only made 3 changes. So they've got 9 players out, nonsense. I don't think it's 9 first-team players. So I think they'll come out, they'll be as strong as they can be, and they'll certainly come out and have a go, I would imagine.
Scott, what about yourself?
Aggressive, yes. I think that's a given. I think any time we go to Tannadice, it's always it's a tough game. I think reading a bit more into it, are they going to be dirty? And again, I think they were pretty dirty when we played them at Ibrox. But fortunately enough, we are able to rise above that now. We move the ball so quickly. They can't really get near us, and I'm really disappointed that again we're going into a fixture with no fans. But I think this Tannadice is a lot like Tynecastle in terms of the intimidating atmosphere, and it only adds to the game. And from my point of view, I would absolutely love to give them a scudding on their own patch in front of their fans, but I guess I can only imagine what they're going through in front of the TV instead.
Yeah. Look, I mean, Tannadice has been one of those places over the last kind of 10, 15 years. We've had our ups and downs at Tannadice. Probably one of our worst Rangers performances one day, where I don't think we actually had a single shot and goal one of the times under Alex McLeish. But yet there's other times we've been up there and played extremely well, and obviously won the league title, which you'll obviously sort of live in the memory for a long, long time. But, I mean, looking at Dundee United with the COVID issues, in terms of what Wolf said is true, it's not necessarily 9 first-team players, but it looks as though the manager's going to be in the dugout on Sunday. Do you think that makes a difference compared to him not being able to manage the team last week compared to this week? I'll come to you first, Wolf.
Is he going to be there, though? I thought he was still.
Mate, it looks like he is going to be there. It's been confirmed.
All right, okay. I thought he was still isolating, but it'll certainly make a difference. Because if it didn't make a difference, managers wouldn't sit in the dugout.
Yeah.
I think it's a strange place for them to sit anyway, because you can't see very much. But obviously, from a sort of changing things and shouting at people point of view, it's the only place they really can be. So it'll certainly make a difference of the guy being there.
Scott, what about yourself?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, in terms of how much of a difference it can actually make, is probably, It will make a difference, because obviously the players have, as Will says, have got the instructions being barked at them. The manager can actually implement what he wants to do. In terms of, is it going to make that much of a difference where it transforms them from being an Inverness into a Barcelona? No, it's not. But yeah, it will make a bit of a difference. But going into it, I still expect us to impose our authority on the game and control it as we have been doing.
Yeah. See, even going back to the first game in terms of how we played, obviously we try to be aggressive in terms of getting on the front foot, trying to get them turned. I think in particular that day, Roof had a really good game. When you look at the game on Sunday, do we just go with the same way we've been playing previously in terms of going on the front foot, trying to control the game, trying to get the first goal? Or is it always difficult after a European game in terms of the intensity of that match? Or do you think that will make a difference, Wilf?
I think we should always go and try and be on the front foot and play our own game.
Yeah,
that's what I've not noticed in previous years when we've worried about the opposition. Our game plan's falling a bit. I mean, going back even when Gerrard first arrived at Rangers, particularly teams like Aberdeen, we get dragged down to their level and played the game their way. We can't play that way. We can only play our way. Yeah. So we need to go to Tannadice, play our game. Let them worry about us, and the game should be fairly straightforward.
Scott, what about yourself?
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think we've learned this season not to get dragged into the scrappy battles, the getting caught with the ball in the air, head tennis, and we get the ball down, get the ball at the back, start again. Always patient, willing to start again, build again, keep building, and I expect much of the same. It goes back into the confidence, whether we're playing domestically or in Europe. I expect us to play the same way. Even when, we play against the better teams in Europe and they come out as really strong, we don't panic, we're calm, we wait for it to pass. Yeah, okay, there's been a couple of times we've conceded a goal, but then we carry on. I think the closest we've come to being probably disrupted is Hibs away, and even then we should have won. We're talking championship winning performances. That probably wasn't one, but we should have walked away with the win, but we didn't. But that's how it's pretty much. I expect a continuation of what we've been doing on Sunday.
Yeah. What about the team? Obviously, we're talking about changes ahead of Sunday. Looking at the team that played on Thursday night, I know there was obviously a lot of changes. Potentially some guys getting some game time that hadn't had much recently. Do you think any of those players are now in the manager's thoughts for potentially starting on Sunday, or is it just back to the guys that have basically got us in this position in the first place? I'll come to you first, Wilf.
The one that I think the most likely of the changes from Thursday night to start would be Cedric Itten.
Right, okay.
I think he would possibly start him. But having said that, he's got so much choice up there. I mean, Defoe's not in the European squad for a reason, so you would possibly expect Defoe to start the game. But Itten possibly played himself into the team. The rest of the changes, I don't really see any of them start, to be honest. Right. I think he'll just go back to what would be a normal strongest start lineup. I feel like, my one query would be what goes in midfield. Does he put Jack back into midfield? And if he does, who does he leave out?
Yeah, I suppose that's always the issue when you've got, the kind of 5-6 midfield players that we have. It's always difficult to pick the best three. So I think it's just a matter of the manager trying to change things up as much as possible and keeping it fresh. Scott, what about yourself? What changes would you make for Sunday from the team that played on Thursday night?
Glad you asked that question. I've made some notes.
All right, good. I like to see that.
So yeah, I think after Thursday, we've come off probably the hardest of the games. European Thursdays are always difficult coming into Sundays, and I think from this point, this is where we put the foot to the gas and we start going with the strongest team. And it's probably going to be a combination of strongest on paper and who's in form. That's the route I'd go. So as Will said, for me, Itten's got to start. Itten was absolutely superb on Thursday. And if we're going to progress him, we need to put him in centrally again and let's see how he does. Let's see how he performs. Let's see if he actually continues that, or was it maybe a one-off? Another interesting one, does Jack come back in? Yes, okay, Jack is probably one of the trusted and preferred players, but he hasn't played. And it's another game that we want to win. I'll probably start with Kamara and then see how the game's going. We can always introduce Jack or a youngster later on in the game, but I think we're going to be starting with our strongest 11, which would probably be Davis and Arfield in the central roles as well. Aribo probably needs a bit more game time. Wouldn't put him in, but Ruth has been superb and it's pretty much undroppable. Apart from that, the team pretty much picks itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I think that's fair. I think when you look at what we've done in previous weeks, and that team in particular has done a lot of damage in Europe and in Scotland. And I suppose the manager's also got to start thinking about the game on Wednesday night, St Mirren in the Cup. Because let's be honest, it's a great chance for us to win the Cup this season. Celtic are already out of the competition. Aberdeen are out of the competition. When you look at the teams that's left, Rangers, St Mirren and Hibs are potentially the three biggest teams that's left in it. And we've obviously got St Mirren. I know it's an away game and it'll be tough, but does a manager look ahead to Wednesday night and think about the team on Sunday, or is it just a matter of taking each game at a time. I'll come to you first, Scott.
I think it's like a game of chess. You're always thinking a couple of moves ahead, also trying to take into account what the opposition's going to do. And I think Gerrard pretty much said himself in his press conference on Friday, that now Thursday's done. But because of that lack of travelling, that we're not going to Poland, we're not going to Lisbon anymore, it allows us to perhaps not concentrate on having to keep freshness in the squad. It's now a luxury of something that we can do. It's like more of a natural rotation now. So in players, it'd be more horses for courses. So yeah, I probably expect to see some changes on Wednesday, but take into account who we're playing and where we're playing rather than resting weary legs.
Wilf, what about yourself? I think I might have lost Wilf again. I'm of the similar mind. I think the manager looks at Sunday, but then he also has to think about Wednesday. Because at the end of the day, we've got a big enough squad now that the manager can get in and make the 3, 4, 5 changes that are required. If we need to kind of rest and recuperate players, then we can do that now. And I think that's a good thing. And I don't think there's a fear amongst the support that when like Morelos doesn't start or if Davis doesn't start, that we're comfortable enough. I mean, even looking back to like the game last night, I think when you look at Zungu coming in, he did fine. You know, I wouldn't have any issue with him playing on Sunday or on Wednesday. You know, I wouldn't have a problem with Ryan Jack coming back in and playing. I wouldn't have a problem if Alfredo starts because, you know, in my opinion, Alfredo's still the best striker we've got. You know, because he offers us so much. But I agree with you, Scott. I think it would be harsh on Itten to have played so well in Europe and then potentially be sitting on the bench. But that, you know, obviously that's the difficult decisions that the manager now has to make. But that's why he gets paid a lot of money and why we are sitting doing a pod, you know, and that's the reality of football. We might not always agree with the 11 that starts every single game, but that's just how it is. And you know, the manager's going to get things right this season, which he's done a lot. He might get the odd thing wrong, but that's just how it works. Right, I think we're obviously getting close to that kind of time again. Wilf, I'll come to you first. What do you think the score's going to be on Sunday?
You know I love predicting scores, right?
You do, mate.
We'll go for 3-0 at Rangers.
Oh, that's what we like to see. Scott, what about yourself?
I'll take a 2-0 and run.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think like sort of you're right. I think if we could come away with a 2 or a 3-0 win at Tannadice, especially after travelling back from Poland, I think that would be a really good result for us heading into the cup game during the week. And it's also one of these places where going to Tannadice has never been an easy place for us. So if we go there, keep a clean sheet, get a few goals, and it's another 3 points back down the road before Celtic play. So, you know, potentially we could be 16 points clear before Celtic play. And I know people say, oh, it doesn't matter, but it does matter because every point that goes higher and higher and higher, it's more and more pressure that we're putting on Celtic. And to me, that's the first time we've had a chance to do that in a long time. And at the end of the day, people can talk about the games in hand, but you've got to win the games in hand. If we've got 16 points of a lead before Celtic playing Sunday, and if they were to drop more points, that's massive. And like mentally for us, it's a huge, huge boost. So hopefully that's the case, that we can get the 3 points and move on. Right, just to finish up, guys, thanks very much for everybody that's listening in tonight. Really appreciate it. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. I'll hopefully get Martin to upload all the other places that you can listen to the pod on Acast, etc., Spotify. Please check us out and thanks very much. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks.